And welcome to the podcast. This is episode 102, and thank you very much indeed for listening, guys. In this week's episode, it can be slightly different format. We're going to be talking about apprenticeships. We're going to be talking about young people coming into the industry and the pros and cons on both sides. But before we get into the podcast, here's my friend Sean to tell you a bit more about what we do. Are you a new person coming into plumbing and heating? Are you a homeowner that likes a bit of DIY? Or are you a business owner and want a bit more knowledge before you make some decisions on your plumbing and heating? Stay tuned to the podcast and hopefully we'll be able to help you out with some of your questions. And welcome back to the show, and thank you very much indeed for listening, guys. I was actually talking to a rep from a manufacturer who makes water cylinders, old Kevin, the other day. And I was saying I could be recording the podcast. I said, have you got any topics to talk about? And he has a young child and is looking at getting into an apprenticeship. And we had a brief discussion about apprenticeships and the problems that young people are finding and employers as well. So I thought I'd dedicate this whole podcast just to talk about the pros and cons on both sides about apprenticeships and why I think that maybe it's not the best route for absolutely everybody out there. So you're thinking about becoming a plumber, you're thinking about getting a trade-based business, you're thinking about becoming an electrician, a carpenter. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but you're looking at getting that apprenticeship at the age of 16, so you don't got to stay on at sixth form at school. Now, typically, apprenticeship is a 4-year journey. So when you're starting leaving at school at 16, these can go on in age, but a stereotypical apprenticeship is from the age of 16. And you'll be taken on, so you'll be working within the practical side of the industry for 4 days, and then going on into a college for 1 day a week, where you'd be learning the theory. So you get the hands-on experience on the sites, getting your hands dirty, actually, and then going off and learning the theory of what you've been doing. So whatever trade you could be doing, typically plumbing, electrical, carpentry, these are all skills that are in high demand. A lot of people these days, they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to get their lungs full of dust. They don't want to be getting up super early and traveling to a site or traveling to a job location, wherever you're doing. But there is a massive skill shortage, and there is high demand within plumbing. There's no threat from AI, so we're looking at that. So some of the repetition stuff, industries out there that can be heavily affected by AI. I wouldn't recommend becoming a taxi driver. By the time you guys out there listening to this podcast actually then become qualified, self-driving taxis within the UK will be commonplace. Are already parts of America. The technology is there for it. So certain industries that, there will be taken over. The repetition works. But certainly for us, doing service-based work in people's homes and businesses, I think a lot of what we do is absolutely secure and won't be replacing us anytime soon. So some of the things that you'll be finding when you go out and start on, let's say on the Monday morning, is that offices may start at 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock in a sort of stereotypical way, Monday to Friday. But us trade-based businesses, we don't work like that. So you may be expected to be on site starting at maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. And certainly we've got jobs that are far away and we need to be at a site for say 7 o'clock in the morning because they actually open at 7:30 because they've got no heating, they've got no hot water, they've turned the water off, they've got a leak. We need to be there on the door. We may have to be leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning. So early starts are really, really a commonplace within the industry. Now we can give you the time back, as employers, we can give you the overtime pay, we could do all these bits and pieces. But if we need to start, we need to start. And if you're sitting as a passenger in a van or a vehicle and you're being driven to somewhere, unless you go and get the train home, you've now got to come back with that person that you're working with, no matter what time they finish. So, we can try and do our best with it all. But, unfortunately, the industry isn't an office-based role where you're in one fixed location for an amount of time during the day. Another thing is your college course is tied to your job So if you drop out of your college course, if you find that it's not working for you, you can't be bothered to go, and we hear a lot of this, people let's say not telling the truth on going to their 1 day a week college because they're a bit tired. Then if your college course then finishes, so does your job as well. So you can't then just carry on with your employer under the apprenticeship scheme. That will end on the same day that your college course does as well. So you really need to be understanding of that. And if you're a couple of years already invested into your apprenticeship, that's a couple of years potentially wasted. So here are some real life challenges about apprenticeships. So if you're working with a small company, you might be only around a few different people. If you don't have your own transport, how you get into the site, how you get into the office, how you meeting that person you're working with. And just remember, you could be working with the same person every day for 4 years. And if you don't get on with them, you don't see eye to eye with them, that is a very long time for both of you to be in that work environment. So from the plumber's perspective, from the employee's perspective, I do apologise. So taking on an apprenticeship is a great opportunity. We get a blank canvas with no bad habits. We can train them in our own way and to our own standards. Funding can be available and no national insurance to pay for under 25-year-olds. And you're giving back to the industry that has given you your life and your lifestyle and your business. So which is a lovely thing to do. And here at Gaslec, I'd love to be in that position where we can give that opportunity to see young people and bring them on board and get that energy as well from some of the youngsters and bring them on. But the reality check is there is a stereotype with younger people being on their phones, being late, unmotivated, not being able to see their long-term potential. And I've seen that over the years with different young people that have come on as labourers and not so much as apprentices. And you're like, do you know what? You could really be something in this world. You just got to apply yourself to it. But their partners are calling their new boyfriend, their new girlfriend, or whatever it'll be, and they sort of and you can see it, and they're just throwing it down the drain. And the failure rate for apprenticeships is around 50% over the 4-year period. And there is no guarantee they're going to stay with you after all that training, effort that you've put into that person. So right at the beginning, the young person is going to be a cost. It's not an asset. It takes time before they can handle even the basic tasks independently. So, what you don't want to do, and if you are an apprentice getting into apprenticeship, be careful of this one. You don't become a little tool fetcher, a little go for this, go for that. Which is, what do we do? Oh, we're hanging a radiator, we're putting a boiler on. What do I need? I need the tool bag. I need the fittings box. I need this. I need that. And that's a really difficult road that you need to try and navigate, that you want to help on the job because you don't have any experience in hanging a boiler, using the drill or whatever it'll be. So when you're actually at the coalface and you're doing it and the person you're working with wants to get the job done, completed, tested and go home, is that actually you're helping them coming along and not hindering them. So yeah, that's always something you need to be mindful of. And some stuff that's not really talked about is from an employer's point of view. We start getting parents involved, and often with some one-sided bits of information. I hear a lot of other plumbers out there having their mums and dads getting on the telephone about little Johnny's said this, little Johnny said that, he's tired, he's this, he's that, and you're making him do this, you're making him do that. That's not the real world, guys. These people want to come to work. They've got to show up for work. Now, I don't believe in bullying, and I don't believe in treating people badly. Not at all, 100% no. But we just need to be mindful that it is a one-sided bit of information that you're going to be getting from your son or daughter regarding the apprenticeship, and not to sort of fly off the handle, because the apprenticeship system can be dropped like a stone and then that's it. It's all over. in the bigger picture, it's fair to say that the system isn't perfect. There's a lot of businesses crying out for good apprentices, and we get calls every single week. But I just think we're just too small as a business to take them on, and we sort of angle them towards British Gas or like Swale Heating. But typically, it's the mums that are ringing us up, not the actual people themselves that would be doing the apprenticeship. So my personal take was an alternative route, right? And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I never did an apprenticeship. And the way we learn today is completely changed from how I learned. You know, I left school in 1994, so I'm a bit of an old fella when it comes to it all. I started work at the age of 11. So that's getting on for 39 years, and I haven't stopped yet. So the way we can learn today now is via the YouTube and the long form YouTube, not on the shorts, but be careful on those. You're watching UK based plumbers. We do some little how-to videos here at Gaslec. When you start looking at the American stuff or any of the other stuff, maybe in Australia, they use different pipes, different language, different fittings, different sizes. They have like codes and stuff that they work to, which we don't really have here. So just try and mainly find a YouTuber, find someone that's creating content within the UK that you can really relate to and understand, and they're getting it across to you the way that you're going to be learning. Create an Amazon wish list for your birthdays and for your Christmas. Get some hand tools together. Get a set of spanners, a set of adjustables. Get some pipe grips. Pump pliers. I will get it out. Yeah, basic level of some screwdriver sets. Now, these haven't got to be Rothenberg or Baco or Weir or any of the top brands at all. But get yourself a basic tool set in a little tool bag. Then get you some plumbing bits. Get yourself a blow lamp, bottle of gas. I would recommend the Rothenberg, because when those ones, you light them, you turn them upside down, the flame doesn't change. So they're really good control of a burner there. They're about 60 quid, I think, so not cheap. A roller solder, some wire wool and some flux as well. And then get yourself maybe down to the scrap yard where you weigh in your scrap metal and see if they've got some old copper pipe, a bit of 15 that you can buy back off of them. Then you can cut the ends off with your plumbing tools, and then you've got some little bits of copper pipe you can work with, practice on your bending. And then document everything you're doing, practicing your soldering, seeing how it runs, making it nice and neat, quenching it down, cleaning it up with a bit of wire wool, making a note of it all as you're going across. Get some clips, maybe to a bit of old timber, and then clip it up onto the test board so you can really see what you're doing there. Yeah, and then, as you say, there's plenty of YouTube and TikTok videos that are out there, and then picking it. And yeah, the other thing was picking up the terminology as well. You know, the stopcocks, the non-return valves, balancing valves, TMVs, TRVs, and all the other bits and pieces that we use within the UK plumbing industry. So make sure you document all your work. I'd say if you're 16 years old and you want to leave education and go into an apprenticeship, my advice would be to stay in education. Make sure you've got your GCSE and your maths and your science, and another subject that you really do enjoy, whatever that will be. And sort of come with that, and then you'll grow and you'll mature and you'll become more of a person that's employable when you get to the age of 18. You can still join the apprenticeship route at that age, but you can do your training and your learning in your own time. And then from that there, you could approach a company like us here at Gaslec, and you could then say, you know, personally, I don't care about what bits of paper you've got. I've got this MVQ level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm really not interested in that. If you can then turn up to here at the door at Gaslec and we've got a position open, and you'll say, here's what I've been doing, this is what I can do. I can show you how I can solder. I can show you how I can repair a pipe. I can show you how to bend a pipe. This is my communication skills that I can have with the team and with our customers. And this is where I am now, and this is where I want to be. And if you knock on the door like that to any plumbing company, you're going to be heads and shoulders above anybody else. And that is through all being self-taught. And then you might think that the science and the mathematics side of what, doing the sixth form side, whether you're redoing your GCSEs, it doesn't matter, or whether you're going on to do your A-level maths and sciences, it really is just giving you that sort of expanding your mind and understanding those sort of numbers. And still every day I learn, no matter what route you take. I've got a couple of bits of advice for you guys. Talk like you're right, but listen like you're wrong. Turn up early every day and turn the lights on. And at the end of the day, you turn the lights off. And what I mean by that is if someone says we've got a place to be at 8 o'clock, get there at 2 minutes to. And don't be the first one to run out the door to leave. Always be the last person out the door. That mindset, that attitude will really shine through, because hardly anybody has that mindset anymore. So just bear that and just think about that. Work clean, be honest, and own your mistakes. And those 3 last little tips there, guys, nobody wants a absolute bomb site stuff. When you are working and you're working, let's say on a landing, and there's a cylinder cupboard and you've got your tool bag and fittings and pipe and dust sheets, you can take over the whole of the landing. It is difficult to be working within a sort of organised manner, but you would need to think about that. But work clean, be honest. If you don't know something, cough it, talk about it. And if you do make a mistake, own it. If you're not sure about if you've soldered something, whether it's right, and when you're about to fill up, I always say to our team of guys, have we got any fittings here that we're a bit suspicious of? And that could be a plastic fitting, a compression fitting, a soldered fitting. Doesn't matter what the fitting is. And you can say, it took me a little bit longer than I thought, than normal, to solder that T under the floor or that elbow. So I'm going to be looking out as we're filling up the system, but also paying extra attention to that, because you will have those fittings. You go, oh, that didn't take as quickly as nicely as I thought, and I put a bit more solder into that. So I'm going to keep an extra eye. So be honest. And if you do make a mistake, if you do mark a carpet, if you do scratch a wall, if you do scuff a door, whatever you do, just cough it and own it up. Because things are so much easier to deal with at the beginning, because if it's done, it's done. If you carry a radiator and it's full of black rubbish and you put it all over the carpet, it ain't going to go away. But with the black rubbish on the carpet, if you can get some fresh water onto it really, really quickly while it's still wet, and then get a wet vac onto it and then tip it on there, wet vac it, tip it, wet vac it, and you can actually clean these things up. If you just kick the dust sheet over it, it'll dry and it'll never ever come out. And these little problems get bigger and bigger. They don't go away. They don't get smaller and smaller. So the reality of coming into a trade-based business, certainly into plumbing, you're going to be wet, you're going to be cold, you're going to be tired, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be fed up, but also you'll become proud and you'll be confident and you become skilled. So, you're that as a person there. So you've got to grow as a person. Like me doing this podcast, episode 102, I've grown as a person just doing this side of things, because I want to be a little bit different to what's to everybody else and what we're doing. One of the other things that no one really talks about is that I've got customers that I've been working for the last 20 years. And you'll see them have babies, you'll see them become grandparents, you'll see them getting married, you'll see them getting divorced, or physically not see them getting divorced, not having babies as such, but you'll see these, and you'll be on this journey where you are the plumber, and when there's an issue, they call you up and you go round there. How was your holiday? How was the wedding? Oh dear, you're getting divorced. The dogs and cats start dying off and passing away. And I have actually been to some customers' funerals. And it's just one of those things. You become part of their little life and their little life story. So it's not just a job. You become part of their family with some customers as well. So to close it all up, guys, what I want to say to you is that just be yourself, just be different to everybody else. If you do the same thing that everybody else does, you're going to get the same results as everybody else. So if you just be a little bit different, be that little bit, the one that will knock on the door and the one that will make that phone call. We get emails and telephone calls from parents every single day about apprenticeships. But if you can learn those basic skills and become what we call in the trade as an improver and come on board with that, be humble, be honest of where you are, but where you want to become. And that will absolutely send you down the right road, guys. Well, I hope this very short but single-tracked episode of the podcast will actually help anybody out there. If you've got any questions at all about my sort of opinions on the podcast, on the apprenticeship podcast, send me an email at podcast@gaslec.net, and I'm happy to answer any questions. If you want to come onto the show and talk about a subject within plumbing and heating, not a problem at all. Email us at podcast@gaslec.net. Right, so I'm all done and dusted for another episode, and I'll see you on the next week. You take care, guys. All the best. Goodbye.